I'm a daughter raised by a single father. As your future mother-in-law, I assure everyone that I will properly discipline her from now on. Please be at ease." Who on earth is telling us to be at ease? The big moment of my life, every woman's dream? During the wedding, a major event, the crazy mother-in-law Mary suddenly grabs the microphone looking self-satisfied. Both the guests and I are appalled. "Your beloved son sitting next to me is so embarrassed, he's about to cry." "Mary, what are you thinking? Are you out of your mind?" My name is Amy, a 32-year-old office worker. I met Potter, who's 2 years younger, on a dating app. After dating for 2 years, we decided to get married. We first went to my dad, who cried tears of joy. I naively thought Potter's parents would react the same, but that expectation was quickly dashed. "No way, I don't approve. Someone you met through such an obscure method and moreover from a single parent? I won't accept it." I was taken aback by the uniquely outrageous Mary. Contrary to her father-in-law, Thomas said,
"Hey, that's rude. Sorry, Amy. I still can't let go of my child. Please, take good care of Potter."
I had heard Mary was a bit overprotective, but this was beyond my expectations. She's like a monster. Potter is an only child, and Mary and Thomas married late. Mary was 42 when Potter was born. Nowadays, meeting through a dating app is not unusual, but it seems they have a strong impression that no good people come from online meetings. Furthermore, they seem to really dislike the fact that I was raised by a single parent. Children of divorced parents have higher divorce rates. I don't want Potter to go through that sadness. What an absurd claim. I thought, where did she get that information? But it was clear Mary cared deeply for Potter. As she continued her high-handed attitude, I couldn't help but give a wry smile.
"Enough already. You don't know anything about Amy. Her mom didn't divorce. She passed away in an accident."
Reacting to Peter's words, Mary said, "Oh, is that so? But still," she seemed about to complain when Thomas finally lost his temper.
"Potter is already 30 years old. Isn't it time you let go?"
Mary didn't seem fully convinced, but somehow we managed to get their blessings for our marriage. That's when my days of hell began. After the family meeting, I moved in with Potter. Mary's demeanoring attitude was overwhelming even during that meeting. My parents, unlike Mary and Thomas, married early. I was born when Dad was just 20. Mary seemed bothered by this too. "Leonard, having Amy at 20, you must have been quite the character in your youth," she said. Thomas, exasperated by her words, said,
"What an impolite thing to say. Leonard, I apologize for Mary. We are relieved and happy that someone as responsible and lovely as Amy has chosen Potter."
And he said something that made me happy. Mary may have thrown rude words, but Dad had been earnestly working hard since graduating high school, even after Mom passed away.
"I'll never love anyone more than Effie,"
he would always say, continually cherishing Mom. I felt nothing but disgust for Mary, who judged Dad solely based on his age and appearance. Dad just laughed it off, but he reached out after the meeting.
"Mary is quite unique. But are you okay, Amy?"
He worried. I had some concerns, but I wasn't living with Mary, so I thought I could manage. The first morning living together arrived. My phone rang at 4 a.m. "What? An alarm? A call?" "Yes?" I answered grudgingly. "What's with that pitiful voice? Isn't it time for morning chores?" "Mary?" I was wide awake from the shock. "Morning chores? Does Potter always wake up this early?" Annoyed by my questions, she snapped, "Not his, yours." Confused by her response, I stayed silent as Mary began spouting nonsense. Apparently, a wife must wake up earlier than her husband, clean the house, prepare a warm meal, get dressed, and wake him up. That was the morning rule.
Losing my mom at a young age, I momentarily wondered, really? But I quickly came to my senses.
Anyway, if you want to marry Potter, this is just basic, understand?
Snorting in excitement, Mary said, what era are you living in? I can't do all that every morning. I have work too. Potter said he's fine with a light breakfast and I'll try to do the cleaning on my days off without overexerting myself. I apologized briefly and went back to sleep. I felt a bit rude, but Mary calling early in the morning with her bizarre rules was pretty rude too, so I figured we were even as I drifted back to sleep. Unsurprisingly, I overslept because of the weird wake-up call. That's what I've been saying, I'm fine, just stop it already. Potter seemed quite angry on the phone. Apparently, Mary, unable to bear that I didn't answer her call, phoned Potter and ended up getting scolded by him. Potter apologized to me profusely. Potter is on my side. Everything will be okay. That alone reassured me. After that day, I didn't hear from Mary again. I heard later that Potter had talked to Thomas, and Mary got a serious talking too. Though I thought Mary was odd, I was too busy to deal with her. The reason was the wedding preparations. Wedding ceremonies are fun to watch, but being on the organizing side was overwhelming with so many decisions to make. I wanted to decide everything with Potter, but then he said, I'm fine with anything. The bride is the star of the wedding, right? I'm just a supporting role, so I want the wedding to be how Amy wishes. He said it like he had made a great point, which made me furious. Huh? A supporting role? What do you mean? Is it my wedding alone? My frustration exploded and I burst into tears. Seeing me cry, Potter looked panicked. No, that's not what I meant. I'll work hard on the wedding preparations too. Let's make it a wonderful ceremony. And he said after that, Potter made sure to attend every wedding meeting with me on his days off. Though we had been drifting apart recently, we started laughing together again like before. Then came the day I was most looking forward to, choosing the wedding attire. I still haven't forgiven what happened that day. I was shocked when I arrived because Thomas and Mary, whom I hadn't seen in a while, were there. It's been a long time. Why are you here today? Unable to hide my confusion, my smile turned strained.
Why? When I talked to Peter yesterday, he said it was the dress selection day today. I came to see Potter looking handsome, Mary said in her usual domineering manner. I felt slightly dizzy at her words, and there was Potter, not looking the least bit sorry. Needless to say, the rest of the dress selection was not fun at all for me. Inside the dressing room, Mary was being overly enthusiastic. This one is nice too. Potter looks good in everything. Let's try that one next.
Even the planner, Eleanor, seemed strained by the unexpected participation of Thomas and Mary. I have never seen a mom so involved in her son's outfit selection. Quite a mother-in-law you have there. Are you okay? She whispered to me, leaving me feeling embarrassed. Nevertheless, I refocused and chose a dress. Among the many options, I picked my dream mermaid-style dress. I had always admired its beautiful line since attending a friend's wedding. I had been dieting and even gave up my favorite chocolate attending the gym and spa just to fit into this dress. Trying it on, Eleanor commented, "Wow, you look beautiful. It suits you so well." Her words filled me with joy for all my hard work. Thomas nearby added, "Amy's tall and slender figure makes the dress look even more stunning." Hearing this, Mary approached and said,
"Oh no, what a vulgar dress. It's showing off your body too much. Are you trying to attract men's attention or what?"
Her command was incredibly rude. "Not at all. This is a popular dress and suits her very well." Eleanor quickly intervened, but Mary was not listening.
"At our wedding, my brothers will be there too. Do you want to make a fool of me with such an indecent daughter-in-law? That's why I didn't want this marriage in the first place." After all the days off I took for the appointments, after all the dieting, my dream dress was being called vulgar? Am I really becoming part of this family? This is impossible, right? My pent-up anger exploded. Enough. Why does our wedding have to be according to your wishes? What do you want me to wear? Something like your Robert-like outfit and huge shoulder pads?
Mary's face turned red at my words. Eventually, Potter and Thomas intervened in our argument. "You're unbelievable. Apologize to Amy. She looks great. Your comments are what's questionable." Thomas scolded. He apologized to me and then dragged Mary away. Despite that was also Amy's fault, right? I agree with Mom this time. I also have doubts about that dress. Choose something more modest. Potter said. I was deeply hurt by his words. I had always told Potter I wanted to wear a mermaid dress and he had agreed, but now, doubting whether I should continue with the marriage, I decided, I'm going back to my parents' house for a while. I'm not sure if we should get married like this. Potter was silent for a moment before saying, My feelings haven't changed. Despite his words, I went back home. Dad, I'm sorry. The wedding might be off. To this, Dad simply replied, I see, and asked no further questions. I felt deeply sorry that Dad had been looking forward to seeing me as a bride. Alone with my thoughts, I began to reminisce about the fun times Potter and I had shared over the past 2 years. We had met on a dating app, introduced by a friend, and at one point I even believed it was destiny. Our family-only wedding was next month, invitations already sent, and my cousins had expressed their excitement. Eleanor had been a great help, and the thought of it all being for nothing just made me sigh. A few days later, after work, Potter asked me to meet him at a cafe. To my surprise, Thomas and Mary were there, and urged by Thomas, Mary apologized to me. I was wrong last time. Thomas scolded me. I let my anger get the best of me. Mary seemed genuinely downcast. I have had time to think alone, and I still want to marry Amy. I'll make her happy. I watched the in-laws apologizing before responding. Understood, I answered with just that. I wanted to stay at my parents' home until the wedding, a wish Potter readily accepted. On the wedding day, a day I will never forget, Mary was in high spirits in the dressing room. What a lovely dress. It's more elegant than the previous one. I was right in my choice, she remarked. I had given up on the mermaid dress for one chosen by Mary. Not at all to my taste, Eleanor repeatedly asked. The previous dress suited you so well? Are you sure about this one? And she repeatedly spoke to me. Honestly, I didn't care anymore about the wedding. The family-only wedding proceeded smoothly until near the end when Mary stood up and grabbed a microphone. Thank you all for being here for Potter's sake, she began, to Potter sitting next to me. What? I haven't heard anything about this. As I tilted my head, Potter seemed to be in the same boat, shaking his head. Mary continued, Amy being raised by a single father will be disciplined by me, her mother-in-law, to learn the wife's rules. Rest assured, everyone. What did she just say? Mary looked pleased with herself while Potter seemed embarrassed to tears. The audience was silent, perhaps thinking Mary was joking. A wife wakes up earlier than her husband to clean the house, prepare breakfast, and must always be well-groomed. At night, she cleans again and goes to bed after her husband. She proudly recounted the same things she had told me on the phone before. The guests showed visible disgust, and even Potter's relatives had strained expression. This is absurd. I watched Mary's one-woman show, wondering if this was her idea of revenge. It was utterly pointless. At this moment, Thomas, sitting next to Mary, interjected, Is that all you wanted to say? What? Mary seemed surprised that Thomas joined the conversation. I'm speaking now, be quiet, she snapped. No, I have had enough. Do you even have the right to lecture others? You used to be diligent with chores when Potter was home. But what about now? Thomas revealed that since Potter left, Mary had been neglecting household chores and he was doing most of them now. I couldn't believe how audaciously Mary had behaved towards guests. Thomas's revelation prompted laughter from some guests. Then Dad stood up. Is my daughter Amy being sent to prison or something? She can't live in such a house. Don't insult my precious daughter. Dad's words brought tears of happiness to my eyes. There were quiet claps around the room. Mary, with her face red and receiving cold stares, looked around in dismay. Amy, say something. Amy, isn't this situation awkward enough? Despite his mom creating the situation, Potter pathetically relied on me, so I stood up with the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm canceling the wedding here and now. We will return your gifts immediately. The room buzzed with murmurs, some clapping. Potter looked shocked. Mary, too, was surprised by my decision. As you can see, I'm not liked by Mary. The dress I'm wearing was chosen by her. The dress I really wanted to wear was deemed vulgar and indecent by her, and I can't follow her nonsensical rules, so I'm calling off this marriage. This declaration was met with applause from my relatives.
Hey, what are you deciding on your own? I'm allowing this marriage. A son's wife should just listen to her mother-in-law.
Thomas scolded her. Shut up now. Amidst the chaos, a relative from Potter's side spoke up.
You, be quiet. Weren't you the one who was tormented by your mother-in-law in your first marriage and cried back to your parents' house? How can you do the same?
Apparently, Mary had been divorced once and suffered greatly at the hands of her mother-in-law in her first marriage. Despite such an experience, what a dreadful person. Mary fell silent at this revelation. Huh? You're really canceling the wedding? I'll sue you for breaking up the engagement. Potter glared at me fiercely from beside me. But I wasn't scared at all.
Huh? You dare say that while I was at my parents' house, you already engaged, brought a woman you met on a dating app to our home.
I can't marry someone as despicable as you. Potter's face paled. Well, he stammered. Everyone, Potter just said he would sue me for breaking off our engagement despite him cheating during our engagement. I know everything, so go ahead and sue. How dare you say such a thing? Screw you. My revelation caused an uproar at the wedding venue with condemnation pouring in towards Potter. During my time at my parents' house, my friend Nettie contacted me.
Is this your fiancé, Amy?
The photo was unmistakably Potter, and it was from a dating app, where he appeared to be seeking a new relationship. I had deleted the app soon after meeting Potter, but he apparently hadn't. Perhaps he had been deceiving me all along. I hired a private investigator who found that Potter was bringing women to our home while I was away. They were nice, he claimed to be working late, but now I wondered... What a mockery. I went through with the wedding only because of a call from Eleanor. Potter's mom contacted me, wanting to read a letter at the wedding in secret. I immediately sensed that spiteful Mary was plotting something. No wonder she was in such a good mood. I simply used her scheme against her and returned it doubled. However, I felt sorry for the guests. I thought I might have gone too far, but seeing their faces of despair was satisfying. It was really good that we hadn't married yet. The guests were outraged, calling Potter the worst and unbelievable. My relatives,
"You better off not being part of that family,"
they said. Potter's relatives were in turmoil, thinking it served them right. Then Mary's brother John approached me. I braced for a scolding, but instead, "I'm truly sorry for my foolish family. We will take responsibility." He apologized. Afterwards, Potter and Mary received a scolding from Thomas and other relatives. Potter paid for the entire cost of the wedding. Even though it was a small ceremony, the amount was significant. Despite being engaged, I demanded compensation from Potter for his infidelity. He audaciously protested this, but after being reprimanded by Thomas and other relatives, he reluctantly ended up paying. While Potter and Mary were the worst, the rest of their family were good people, and I was grateful. Potter had to beg his parents for money as his savings weren't enough. Thomas, exploding with long-held anger, said, "I don't care, sort it out yourselves," and left a divorce paper before leaving the house. Thomas later contacted Dad and me to apologize. He is now enjoying peaceful retirement out of state. Potter's situation worsened when one of his flings turned out to be a married woman, creating trouble at his workplace and resulting in his dismissal. He's now struggling to find work and depends on Mary's pension for a modest living. It's nothing but poetic justice. He reaped what he sowed. Years later, a friend introduced me to someone and I remarried. I finally wore my dream mermaid dress at my second wedding. When moving out of state for my husband's job made me sad, Dad said, "Amy, make sure you're happy this time." I assured him with a smile, "Of course."